Shivasamarambam Shankaracharya Madhimam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyapti Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham Om Shri Krishna Govinda Narayana Paramatmane Namaha Narayana. Okay, solutions. Karma Yoga. We talked about Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. They're all guna managements. These are all your sattva size. We're going to sattva size our minds.
Good.
Huh? Yeah, it's like sattva size. Let's get your mind sattva, clear, pure. And that's what the yogas are for. There's 3 yogas, 3 basic yogas. Why? Because you have 3 problem parts. There are 3 yogas because the subtle body has 3 parts. Remember on the other chart, the triangle chart, mind, intellect, and ego? It shows them here looking at the chart from the top, looking down. The other one's looking at it from the side. Here you got mind, intellect, and ego. It's a subtle body. Talking the subtle body. Vasanas are out here, then the subtle body's here. Now in this, look at in this situation here. Look at in this chart. Where are the arrows going? Out. The arrows represent your attention. Attention. Your attention is consciousness, is awareness, directed through an object, through the subtle body to an object. Okay? You want to know what consciousness is? Consciousness is what you're paying attention to, what you're conscious of. That attention is consciousness directed through your subtle body, through your mind, your primary instrument, to an object. Now, in this case, what am I doing? My ego is what? Doing actions in the world, trying to get satisfaction. I'm using my mind to manipulate the world to get what I want, make money and get power and fame and so forth and so on. Emotionally, all my emotions are riding on what happens in the world outside. All those are driven by my vasanas. So I'm an extrovert. My attention, my consciousness is extroverted. It's turned outward. Obviously, and Maya here, look at here. Maya's hiding the self. Where's the self? See? The veil, Maya's here. Hiding the self. I don't see the self. Why? Because I'm looking at objects. Okay. What do you see? Hand. You see a hand. You do see a hand. But you see something more. What else do you see? Light. Light. Well, what? That's right, don't you? You can't see a hand unless there's light shining on it, can you? There's no... The hand actually depends upon the light, because if there's no light, you're not going to see the hand. But what did you say you saw? Hand. Now, why did you say you see a hand when you saw 2 things? Why didn't you say, I see light and a hand? That would be actually the correct way that you perceived it. You actually perceived the light and then you perceived the hand. Because the hand depended upon, or you may have perceived them simultaneously, but you knew that what? that you couldn't see the hand without the light. So actually the most important thing here is what? Is the light, not the hand. But yet you said, I see a hand. You saw both, but you ignored the one thing that's most important.
Conditioning.
Huh?
Conditioning? Because of our conditioning?
Yeah, because of your vasana, your condition. You're extroverted. You're looking at what's happening in the world around you, in your thought world, in your emotional world, in your action world, and you're just not acknowledging the most obvious part of the whole equation. It's right there. You can't have any feelings, emotions, and thoughts without this awareness that you are. But yet you ignore it completely. You talk to an extroverted person about the self, and they'll say, there's no self, there's no God. These are your atheists. There's no God. Why? There is a God. It's God saying there's no God. It's actually God saying there's no God. They say there's no God. There's people who say, I'm not enlightened. They say that. They say, I'm not enlightened. Well, that to me is a joke. If a person says, I'm not enlightened, I say, that's a joke. Because the one who's saying it is the light. Huh? Without that enlightened being, that enlightened self, that awareness, saying, I'm not, being there, you can't say I'm not enlightened. Can you? This is why we laugh when people think that enlightenment is, that they're not enlightened, or that they are enlightened. Somebody says, I am enlightened, we have a laugh. Somebody says, I'm not enlightened, we have a laugh. Because, Because what? They're paying attention to the object and not to the one who's saying it, not to the subject. Remember, this is where this all started. My experience is very simple. My experience is what? A subject and an object. That's all experience is. I am a conscious subject, and what? And I experience objects. But every single time, I ignore the subject. That's what ignorance means. It doesn't mean you're stupid. It means you ignore something. That's all ignorance means. That means what? There's something there to be ignored, doesn't it? It's not that there's nothing there, it's that there's something there that you're ignoring. And so, when Maya's operating here, you're ignoring the fact that what? That the awareness, that I am the awareness of whatever it is. So that's a condition of mind, that's a tendency. Right? A deeply rooted tendency to ignore yourself and to think that the objects are real and that they validate you. Obviously, they're only meaningful because of you. Where's your wife or your husband when you're not thinking about your wife or your husband? Where are they? Do they exist or do they not exist? Come on. They don't exist. They only exist when you're thinking about them. There's never a wife outside or a husband outside, ever. We've already explained that with the glasses. The wife appears as a wife thought. The husband appears as a husband thought. And when you're thinking something else, when you're thinking dog thought, there's no wife thought. You're only thinking one thought at a time. When you're loving your dog, you're not loving your wife. When you're loving your kids, you're not loving your dog. Now in your head you think, oh, I love them all. Well, maybe you do. You love them all when they're present in your mind. But if they're not present in your mind, they're not there to be loved or to be enlightened or illuminated by you. Understand. This is. Can you see it? Huh? You get it? This is not. I know. I can see the question marks. Like there's people who are kind of tentative now. Just a minute. I don't know. You know, that's a tough teaching. Why? Because I actually believe that the physical object is out there, and that's what's producing the thought, and that. But it's not. The physical object is out there because you have the thought. Why is there a wife in your life? Because you had the wife thought. Then you got a wife to what? A physical wife to correspond with the thought. But the physical wife or husband is only as good as when you're thinking about them. This is why men leave women and women leave men. Because what? What do they say? What is the particularly women? I always say, well, why did you leave him? He said, because he didn't love me. I said, well, he thinks he loves you. No, he never paid attention to me. Isn't that right?
Excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know. Sorry, I didn't mean. So it's like, I know you're not really there, you're just the thought.
The power of attention is coming from this angle here.
I have a question about this existence.
Yeah, sure. Oh yeah. You're going to say, well, they are there because Ishwar created them.
No, it sounds like solipsism in that. Then the question I had was, does this person? You said my wife is not ceases to exist if I'm not thinking about her, or I'm not in her presence. Is that correct?
Yes, for you, she doesn't exist because your
she
experience
doesn't exist as my wife or as an entity.
as anything.
Okay.
Remember where we started this? We said experience. You've got to remember the basics now. I know we didn't have time to really cement the basics, but the basics is what? Experience is what? Consciousness plus a thought. That's what experience is. There is no experience out there. Because everything out there reduces to a thought, doesn't it? I'm not going out there to experience that tree. I don't have to crawl up every branch and get into every leaf and go inside to see the sap and do all that, huh? I don't have to spend like 10 years learning that tree, do I? That tree reduces into the tree thought in my mind, and I know tree. So I'm experiencing the tree here in my mind as a tree thought. The wife isn't out there. What part is the wife or the husband? Just what part? The nose? The ears? The words? What part of your wife is the wife? When you start looking into the wife just dissolves into a whole bunch of parts, and all those parts resolve into smaller and smaller parts, and until what? There's just nothing there but what? Space, and then the space resolves into you, doesn't it? Okay, let's get rid of the shirt. Huh? How do we get rid of the shirt? I say I'm wearing a shirt. And you say, no, you're not wearing a shirt. Oh, I'm not wearing a shirt? What are you wearing? You're wearing cotton. Cotton? Oh, you're right. This is all cotton. You're right. I'm not wearing a shirt. Am I wearing a shirt or am I wearing cotton?
Neither.
Yeah, neither actually. Because what? Because we can get rid of the cotton too, can't we? We can go down to the what? We go to the atomic level, then we can get lower than the atomic level, we can get down into the quark level, and then we can get into space, because all of these things are made out of space. Then we can resolve space into consciousness, can't we? So I'm just wearing consciousness. Huh? Right? So where's the wife? Where's the husband? Apart from the thought. of the wife or the husband or the chair or the dog or the cat or the child or any object that you think is actually out there, it's not actually out there. It's in here. It's in me. It's a thought only. Yes.
In the case of the tree, I know it exists only in my thought. Nevertheless, there is no denying that the tree exists where it exists, in the jungle or the forest.
Yeah.
The tree does exist, although I am not thinking of it.
Sure, that's right. That's Ishwara Srishti. But we can get rid of Ishwara too. Absolutely. No, absolutely. Not that it matters, but yeah, sure, we can get rid of Ishwara, because what is Ishwara making the tree out of?
Oh, so you are equating tree with the Ishwar.
Well, yeah, Ishwara is the tree, and the tree is Ishwara.
Yeah.
Okay, now how are you going to get rid of the tree in the jungle? Huh? What is?
there?
Huh?
It is there. It is in the forest.
Okay, it exists, but what does it exist as a tree, or does it exist as consciousness? Yeah, because it's made out of consciousness. So we resolve the form into the name, into the source. Okay, is this, what is this here? It's a chair. Ah, yeah, good for you. No, is it a chair or is it wood? What, huh? What's the truth here? Wood. Right? Now, what's the difference between the wood and the chair? There is a difference. But there's no difference, is there? Because look, if we take the chair and we subtract it from we weigh it. The chair, we weigh it. Take it away from the wood and we weigh it. How much will the wood weigh?
Little.
Huh?
Very little.
It'll be the same. The wood will be the same whether we subtract the chair or add the chair. When we add the chair back, we're not adding anything to the wood. When we subtract the chair, we're not removing anything from the wood, are we? Huh? So does the chair actually exist? But you say it's a chair. You think it exists. Well, whatever existence that the chair's got is what? It's borrowed from the wood. Whatever existence your wife has is borrowed from you. Whatever existence your husband had is borrowed from you. Everything here is in the Mithya world is on loan from you. Huh? And moksha is giving it all back to what? You've borrowed, it's borrowed existence, and now what? I've got to pay my debts and give it back to the owner. The owner is me, awareness. So the world is just nothing but me plus a name and a form. Now, is the form real? No. The form is apparently real. It seems to be real. It's a seemingly real, but it's not actually real, because when we analyze it, what does it do? It collapses or dissolves or sublates. That's the fancy philosophical term for it. It sublates or dissolves or resolves into me. And it never was a chair. It was always wood. Understand? This goes, well, I don't see that when my mind is extroverted. All I see is chair. I don't go drill down into the chair to see what the substance of it is. The substance of every object is consciousness. The existence that any object, right, exhibits is consciousness, is the self. You say the snake, you know the snake and the rope story. where you say the snake exists. That's why you're frightened. Where is the... In your, that's right. Where is the existent snake getting its existence from? The rope. If it's there, it's not actually there, but it seems like it's there, and when it seems like it's there, where is it borrowing its existence from? Because it has no existence of its own. When we subtract it from the rope, it's nothing, we can't get any weight, we can't, there's nothing, the rope has been unaffected. When we put it back on the rope, it's been unaffected, so it means what? There's no, it doesn't really exist. It just seems to exist. Yes, sir.
You know, I understand the point you are driving, but in actuality, the synthetic and analytical ability of the brain to process many thoughts at one time is somewhat neglected, in the sense that when I love my dog, I do not love my wife is not right. I love the dog because in the back, I love my wife too. I love my children too. And that ability of the brain to synthesize so many things and create a monomorphic picture from a pleomorphic picture is a distinct ability. We cannot...
Well, Vedanta doesn't agree with you on that topic. We say that you can only process one thought at a time. With the multitasking thought, if you look at the way the scripture is really clear on this, and this is why when you do meditation, when you start doing meditation and you get more and more sattvic, you can understand that thoughts are serial. They appear one after another. There's never one thought superimposed on another. If there were one or two or three thoughts appearing at the same time, how would you determine the nature of any thought? Because their properties and their qualities of each thought would be all mixed up. So you'd be unable to distinguish the properties or the qualities of a particular thought. But it looks like you're doing many at a time because the thoughts go so fast that it gives the appearance that you're actually multitasking or they're doing things. But the thoughts are appearing so fast. When you get sattvic, when your mind gets purely sattvic, then you can see that you're only processing one thought at a time. It's like those old stereopticons.
Yeah.
Huh? You're actually only looking at one picture at a moment, but when you turn the thing, it looks like there's a whole. You're getting all this. You're getting a whole story, but actually you're only seeing one thought at a time. But because of the movement, it looks like you're dealing with a lot of different thoughts at the same time. Gives it that impression. So, Yoga and Vedanta says that you actually don't. In other words, because your equipment is what? Is just consciousness plus thought. Now, the thoughts are changing, but the consciousness doesn't change. I don't change, but my thoughts keep changing. And I imagine that there's a narrative here. That because A, B, C, D, E, F, G makes it look like a story, but there isn't actually a story. There's no time. Remember, we're starting from the point of view that reality is non-dual. If reality is non-dual, there's no way to create a narrative out of it. Yet I've created a narrative out of my thoughts. So that means there's only one thing, me, one apparent me, and thoughts appearing and disappearing in and up and down. In other words, experience is a vertical movement, not a horizontal movement. Vertical is, of course, the wrong word because, but you understand what I'm saying. You can't, in other words, things are appearing, they're coming out of the unmanifest. That's called the unmanifest. Out of the unmanifest, they're manifesting in the subtle body, and they're going back into the unmanifest. But the rapidity with which they appear and disappear, in other words, how much pressure there is on the unconscious, creates this sense of time, this sense of movement. It's actually nobody's moving, nothing's happening. It's all just what? Just flickering images appearing in you, like in a dream. So, so when you're, I know this take a little contemplation. I told you, from the very beginning, this is completely counterintuitive, right? Because all of our thought processes, all of our thinking and our knowledge is based upon the idea that reality is a duality. We've all been conditioned in duality, so all of our thinking is causal and spatial and temporal. Those are the three ways in which we make sense of reality, none of which are actually real, but they seem to be real.
Could you please help me here? I'm still struggling with that idea that because a wife or husband or whoever is not in my thought, therefore they do not exist. I mean, wife could have gone shopping, she would be there in the shopping center.
Well, okay, sure. From Ishwar's point of view, she's there, but not from your point of view. From Ishwar's point of view, she's wandering around at the shopping mall. But, that's fine, spending your money. but that from Ishwar knows all of that. Ishwar sent her over there, spending Ishwar's money. She's Ishwar's creation there, and she's spending Ishwar's money, and she's going to come back later and all that. Even when she walks into the house, if you're on the telephone, she's no existent for you, is she? You don't even know she came in. She didn't slam the door. She just walked in quietly. You don't even know she's in the house, because she still doesn't exist for you, because all your consciousness is in the thoughts that you're generating on the telephone. This is just practical.
She exists, but not for you.
That's right, but we're only interested in you. And whether she exists for Ishwara or for you, Ishwara is borrowing its existence from you, and Jiva, she's borrowing its existence from you, and and the person that you think you are is borrowing your existence from you, from consciousness. And it's a hard one, I understand it. If you get Satyamitra, you're free. If you get Satyamitra, that's all you need to know. You don't have to get knowledge or get ignorance. You have to just understand what Satya is and what Mithya is, and what the relationship between the two, then that's moksha.
But that would destroy the notion that you're a separate self.
Absolutely. There is no separate self. That's what Buddha meant when he said anatma, but everybody said they thought he meant there's no self.
Yeah.
We're thinking of consciousness, and Buddha said anatma, he meant there's no separate self. That means there's only consciousness. But, the Buddhists, they wouldn't accept the Vedas. That was the problem with Buddhism. They're Nastikas, we call them. Astikas are people who accept the Vedas as a means of knowledge. We accept the Vedas as our means of knowledge, because we know that the perception and inference don't work for the self. So we've already given up our own personal views about stuff, about reality, because we know that what the equipment we've got is not suitable for ascertaining the nature of reality. We just don't have it, and we're never going to get it on our own. That's why we say, okay, I give up. I accept the Vedas as my means of knowledge for consciousness. My means of knowledge for other objects in the Mithya world is fine. I can perceive and I can infer. So that's all I need. I can think and I can perceive. So that's good enough for everything here in the apparent reality. But for the self, then that's not good enough. So I need, and the Buddha threw that out. Buddha had a problem, He had a problem he was a do-gooder, and he was really into justice. He was one of these guys. It ain't right, and he saw the Brahmins cheating the people, collecting indulgences. The same thing happened in the Middle Ages.
Yes.
Same thing happened in the Middle Ages. He said, those damn Brahmins, they're standing between you and God. Let's get rid of those Brahmins. And when he threw out the Brahmins, he threw out the whole Veda. He said, okay, the Brahmins are based on the Vedas, so what? We're going to throw out the Brahmins and the Veda. They threw out the baby with the bath, is what he did. That was his mistake. That's why there's basically no Buddhists in India. So he had to throw out God too. He had to throw out the God principle because that's part of we throw out the God principle too, but not right at the beginning. You need the God principle at the beginning of your sadhana to resolve the problems with your ego and your personality. Once you've got that solved, then we're going to get rid of God also. That's why they often call us atheists or godless people, Mayavadis. That's what the Dvaitis call us, the dualists. And those Vedanta guys, they're Mayavadis. They follow Shankara. They believe in Maya. They think that there's an identity between Ishvara and Jiva. Oh, they're bad people. Ishvara's never Jiva, and Jiva's never Ishvara. No way. We're always eternal. They're Dvaitis. We're always eternally devotees, and Ishvara's always eternally God, and we're just got to have a relationship with. Why would I want to be Ishvara anyway? Why would I want to be God anyway when I can enjoy God? That's the argument.
We're under the spell of demonic influences.
That's it. That's right. Under the spell of demonic influences. That's nice. They have contempt for us. They don't want to hear it. And we say, hey, we got one leg up on you guys because we not only get to be God, we get to enjoy God. we get the pleasure of knowing who we are, and we get the enjoyment of experiencing ourselves in this Mithya world. Because there's no contradiction between Satya and Mithya. There's no contradiction between the chair and the wood, is there? There's no contradiction. They both exist together. They just look like they're different. And these people are basing their differences, their duality, on the appearance of things, not on the reality of things. They refuse to drill down and remove the objects from the consciousness. So they're eternally at war with this non-dual principle.
It's very interesting that in the English language, the word see, S-E-E, we use in two senses. If I want to show you something, see that tree. And if I want to give you an idea, do you see what I'm saying? So that means see and thought and vision, they're all a part of the same spectrum.
They're all the same. Absolutely. You got to be very careful. See, Vedanta is all words. This is called a Shabda Pramana.
Exactly.
It's a means of knowledge that doesn't require that it's not experiential. It's words. It's Shabda. It's words, sounds, vibrations. You carry that. That's useful for carrying knowledge. And in this case, we have to have this kind of means of knowledge because your eyes and ears can't hear the self. You can't hear the self or smell the taste or touch the self. You can't think the self. The self is thinking you. And you want to think the self. You got it backwards. You're trying to figure out what the self is. It's not going to happen. Because the self is thinking you. So everybody's trying to, well, what is this self? And what is this Maya? And it's not going to happen. It doesn't work that way. So the only way we can teach it is with these words. And there's a method for teaching it. You notice how quiet everything gets when we run through one of these teachings, like the Satya Mithya teaching? Do you feel the silence? Everybody's like, yeah, your mind stops actually. And the thought's there, but you can feel the presence of awareness. You can feel the peace and the silence. That's why you like to sit here. That's why you like this. Because this puts you back back into the experience of yourself. Something you're always experiencing, but something you're not experiencing or think you're not experiencing because your mind is extroverted. Now what the yogas do, this is where this whole thing started, we kind of run off on a, really come back. When my mind is extroverted, I'm not aware of what? So the yogas, what do? They what? Reverse the problem. They turn the attention, all three yogas, turn the attention inward. So with my body, I serve the self. In other words, my actions are dedicated in service to the self. So every time I act, I need to have the self in mind. Before you do an action, while you're doing an action, and once the action's done, you should have the self in mind. That qualifies as karma yoga. And what? When a result comes, what do? I take it as prasad. I take it as a gift from the self. So that's karma yoga. What about bhakti yoga? I love the self. I don't love objects. Because when I love the self, that includes all the objects. So rather than selecting various objects for my love, I love the self, and since the self is, everything is the self, that includes all the objects. So by default, you're loved when I love myself. Problem solved. I don't have to take care of it. I don't have to worry about whether I love you or not, or what it is, or whether you're lovable or not. I just automatically love you because you're non-separate from me. Problem solved. This bhakti yoga. My emotions are what? I'm not drawing my love from objects outside. I'm what? My love is what? Acknowledgement of the source of the love, which is me, Anandam. I am Anandam. I am bliss. I am joy. I am. And that just spreads out and affects everybody. So when you know who you are, everybody loves you. Except the few that don't. And they hate you because they actually love you. But they can't, they got problems, so they can't show it. So they show it in a negative way. That's all. They do. So when they're attacking you, you know very well it's because they love you. Because if they didn't care, they wouldn't waste their time attacking you. There's some reason that they love you, but they're perverted. They can't show it. They're afraid to show it for some reason. And so, and you know that, so you let them let them attack you. It's fine. You say, oh, well, poor person. He's this or that. She's this or that. It's no problem. And what about here?
But in Bhakti Yoga,
Yeah.
the beauty is that you can say, I love you, but you do not ask, do you love me? Because the moment you ask, do you love me, then it becomes a self-oriented, ego-oriented.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't ask, do you love me? That's right.
It's not allowed.
It's not allowed. That's right. Absolutely. That's non-dual bhakti. It's so bad we don't have time to do I do a whole seminar on bhakti. We have the book, The Yoga of Love there. You should get that book. If you want to understand bhakti and how it is non-different from Vedanta. It shows the different stages of love. So that's a really good super book. It's based on the Narada Bhakti Sutras, which Narada was not a dualist. Now most of the bhakti literature is Dvaita. There are very few bhakti texts written by what? Advaitins. So, very few. But Narada Bhakti Sutra is one of them. And it equates what? Non-dual bhakti with non-dual knowledge with what? With non-dual knowledge. It shows how there's no difference between moksha and non-dual love. Right? Because and I understand that everybody's me, and I know that I love myself more than anything because that's the only object of love there is, isn't there? There's no, huh? You know, you say you love your wife and your kids more than you love yourself, but that's bullshit. You do not love your wife and your kids more than you love yourself. It's for the sake of yourself that you love your wife and kids. That's it. Huh?
The dialogue, which Upanishad?
Oh yeah. In the Vedas, it's all talking about Maitri and
Yes.
he says You know, you got it wrong. He says, the husband loves the wife for the sake of the husband. The wife loves the husband for the sake of the wife. Let's get this clear, what the relationship is. So you don't, everything is only done for the sake of the self. That's pointing out that the self is love, and that's all you ever do love is yourself. It's never, and you're deluded if you think you love something more than you love yourself. I have to tell a story about the guy who his kid, he ran out to the grocery store, and his son was playing upstairs in the second floor of his house. And he forgot to turn off the stove, and the house caught fire. And he came back, and his little boy was up in the second or third floor screaming, help me, Daddy, help me. And because he couldn't get down because the thing was being consumed from the bottom. And the father said, I'll give anybody $1 million who saves my son. Yeah, I love my kid more than anything. Yeah, you do. Now, occasionally you find non-dual love, and a person will sacrifice their life for someone else. That's very rare. But it's all for you. And that's not selfish. You understand? That's not selfishness. I know, oh my God, is that true? I can't accept that. No, that's not selfish, that's self-ish. There's no other option. You always only love yourself. When you think you love somebody else, what is it you're loving in that person? The self.
How do you distinguish between whether it is selfish, as in selfish, or selfish?
Whether or not you're dependent upon that person for your love. If you're dependent, if you love them, if your love for them depends upon how they behave, then you don't love them. Then it's selfish. Huh? Well, we're always qualifying our love based upon a person's behavior. We're saying, well, if you do this or that, then I can't love you. That's called conditional love. You need to, fulfill certain qualifications, and then I'm happy to love you. So that's selfish. You know what those qualifications are, And then when they're all met, then you're happy to love. But as soon as they're not met, then you're not happy to love. That means what? That's selfish love. Whereas what? Pure love, non-dual bhakti, non-dual love is, hey, I love you. Because you're me, and I have no other option but to love you. And what you do is all mithya. It's not your fault. Ishwara made you this way. That's you happen to be what you're doing. You're cutting corners or whatever it is. And that's fine. That's fine with me. You can't help it. You're just not well. That's the problem. So, fine. And I just don't cancel, I know this is a hard one. This is a really hard one. When you get to the love thing, well, that cuts to the chase here in the relationship business, let me tell you. Because there's all these fantasies we've got about what we love and who we love and why we love and so forth and so on. So these three yogas, basically, what do? They turn the mind toward itself. We teach us how to convert our emotions into devotion. That's called bhakti. Bhakti is, our emotions are generated by what? By objects. Our attachment to objects. So, when my wife gets cranky because I said something that makes her, then she stops loving me. Then what do? I feel terrible. I feel depressed because my wife doesn't love me. Right? Now, that's called emotional love, and that's what? My happiness, my emotional satisfaction depends upon what she feels and thinks. Is that correct? That not good, wrong, bad. Don't do it. But this is a love you can count on because this is always present. And in the nature of the self is love. Parama prema swarupaha, the scripture says. The self is parama prema swarupa. The nature swarupa of what? Of the self is what? Limitless love. Now, love means prema is a special word. It doesn't mean eros or erotic love or attachment love. It means what? Pure love. Unconditional, pure love. No conditions here. I don't have any conditions. I cannot put conditions. As soon as I put conditions, I fall into duality again. So, Bhakti Yoga teaches you what to love and how to convert these emotions for objects into devotion for the self. You're only going to love the most beautiful thing, isn't it? When you're attracted to something, somebody or something, it's because of their beauty. I'm not talking physical beauty. Sometimes people are so superficial. They just go for, nice looking, according to that. But that's all right. It doesn't matter. They're all a person's qualities of their heart or their mind or their intellect or something about them will attract you, will make them beautiful to you. Well, that beauty that you're seeing there belongs to what? The self. It doesn't belong to them. You think it belongs to them. That's why you love them. But actually, whatever beauty they have, they're borrowing from what? From the self. You just happen to be in a state of mind where you can see the beauty shining or reflecting in that person, and that attracts you. And so now you want to make business there. You want to tie them up and insure and get wife and kids. You want to make some business so you can keep that connection to yourself through that object. Big mistake. Big mistake. You start tying it down and putting it into all kinds of boxes so you can hold it tight, and slowly that love just pisses away. One day you sit there, and the person that you thought was the most beautiful thing in the world, you're happy to get rid of them. So here, what are we doing with our thinking? We're learning how to think from the self's point of view rather than from what? From the point of view of our fears and our desires, rather from Maya's point of view. Maya's generating fears and desires that are generating our thoughts. We do not want what? Fears and desires to generate our thoughts. We want the self to generate our thoughts, so we need to learn to think like Ishvara thinks. This is Ishvara's thoughts.
Yeah.
So, in Karma Yoga, we want to what? Our actions are serving what? Our desires. We want our actions to serve the Lord. So, now when you, and what does that do? You see what happens here in the pictures here? In this case, this is the samsari. What's he looking for? Objects. He's like, got his flashlight out, and he's looking for stuff. In this case, he's what? No objects there. He's looking at himself. And what's happened to the Rajas and Tamas? This is the Rajas and this is the Tamas. The Rajas and Tamas has shrunk here. Why didn't we make it disappear altogether? Not possible. Not possible. You can change the guna configuration, you cannot eliminate the gunas. There are always going to be sattva, rajas, and tamas because the creation is trigun atmika maya. But what have I done here? I've reduced the problem to a manageable problem. And I know that these two energies are what? Are mithya. I actually know that that sattva is also mithya. We haven't talked about the problems of sattva. Now I've got control of my rajas and tamas. Here, my rajas and tamas are controlling me. I occasionally have a few nice sattvic thoughts, but basically I'm driven by what? By my desires and my fears. So all of these practice, any practice you do, japa, prayer, meditation, so forth and so on, any one of these practices is going to sattvasize your mind. I need to get that predominant sattva, then this teaching goes right in. Yeah, Dave. Oh my God. Yeah, take a little break and then we'll have then we'll continue.
Is this lunch break or?
Or is it lunch? Should we do lunch now? How do you want to do it?
You want to push through like we did yesterday?
Yeah, I think so.
To 12:30?
Yeah, push
You want you want to push through to 12:30 or?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay. All
You know,
right.
it's kind of very interesting. The searchlight, the light is always a cone, but you have made it a knife.
Made a
Like
what?
a knife.
A light?
Yeah, the light never goes in a knife form. It goes in a cone form.
Oh yeah.
And that means if you have an incisive light,
Yeah.
then you will see different things.
I see.
But that's a banana.
Very good, very good. You illustrated the point. That is why in Sanskrit we say yatha drishti tatha sushti. Depending upon the way you think, you will see things appropriately.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Once is
As the mind, so the world.
Exactly.
As the mind, so the world. That's what a projection is. The world is just your projections. There's no, the chair doesn't really exist, does it? The world doesn't really exist. It apparently exists. So, and that's perfect. Huh? So the chair, the wood can be made into anything, can it? You can make a table out of it. You can make a chair. You can make a statue. You can, the wood will shape into anything, The essence, in other words, consciousness can be made into any object because it's all what? Fantasies. It's all, consciousness can take any form you want. Okay, all right. So Karma Yoga, what is that? We discussed Karma Yoga basically, but we have one little topic on Karma Yoga that we need to. We said Karma Yoga is two things. I said right attitude, which we discussed, and right action. Right attitude means an attitude of gratitude. That attitude of gratitude, what does it do? It reduces my vasana load. It burns vasanas without creating vasanas. So what? It quiets my mind and introverts my mind. Then, right action. The reason we say right action is that means you can't stay in an adharmic situation and expect a karma yoga to work for you. You've got to change your life. That's the hard part. Everybody's happy to change their mind, but when it gets to like changing their life, they don't want to change their life. They're very attached to their lifestyle and all. Oh yes, I'm very enlightened, I'm very on the path, I'm doing all these wonderful things, blah, 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 but what about this? Oh no, I can't do that. We'll deal with that later. When I get enlightened, then I'll fix that stuff. No, not going to work. Sorry. Sorry, not Karma Yoga. So what are the 5 offerings? Karma Yoga has 5 basic practices that need to be done daily. And you can't skip them. What is that? Worship your Ishta. You need, Ishta means your deity, whatever it is. If it's nature, whatever it is, you need to do that. In our tradition, we have deities. Mine is Vishnu, Krishna. Ram, Krishna, Vishnu. So every day I say the name all the time. I'm chanting all the time. I'm thinking about it. Our house is full of nothing but Krishnas and Shivas and what deities. We do our Brahmarpanams for lunch and dinner and breakfast, and we light our candles and all that stuff. We make sure that every day we're doing our little devotional practices. We need to have an ishta, and you need to do that. Worship the ancestors. That's called Pritir Yagnya. That means anybody you're dependent upon, usually your mom and pop. Most of your psychological stuff comes from your parents. If there's any kind of hidden resentments with your parents, you're not gonna get free. You have to worship your parents. Yeah, that my dad was a drunk and he was violent and he was alcoholic and he beat my mother and all that sort of thing. Okay, fair enough, but as long as you're carrying that resentment, that anger, you're not going to be free. You've got to apply some kind of, you've got to forgive him because he's only in your mind. The Father's only there in your mind, and that resentment is stuck in you now. And that's preventing you from growing. Anybody that you're dependent upon, where you've been, that's an ancestor, somebody who has power over you, or did have power over you, you need to worship those people. And the basic thing is, well, they wouldn't do that if they could help it. They wouldn't be like that if they could help it. Right? Nobody'd be like that because they can't help it. It's their damn vasanas that are causing it. They're not well. Their minds are not well. It's not their fault. They didn't choose to be like this. I can't get mad. Why can I get mad at you? I can't get mad at you. My dad was mean, so what? I love him. He can't help it. He gave me so much. Why should, I'm not speaking personally. I'm just saying as an example. My dad was a totally great guy. I didn't have any trouble worshiping my parents because I never had a problem with my parents, ever. I never had one resentment to my parents. They were great people. They looked after me like nobody else, but most people, they got lingering shit there. They got issues. I got one friend whose mother and grandmother lived together all their life. They hated each other. They were totally attached to it, and they hated each other like with a passion. And when the grandmother was about to pass, she said to her daughter, "My last request is that you bury me in this dress." And she hauls out this dress from her trunk and shows her, said, "I want to be buried in this dress." The grandmother died, and the mother went to the trunk and burned the dress and put the mother's body in the dress she wanted the mother to wear. Beyond the grave. Yeah, wow. She's going to have to come back and have quite a few more mothers till she gets herself straight here. Mother didn't do anything to you. You're an adult. Right? You're an adult. Grow up. So there's it. A worship of humanity, people, service to people. Okay? People are asking you every day for something. Without discrimination, but make sure you take care of people. So I can't take care of everybody because everybody, I try my best to do it, but sometimes I'm unable to help somebody who wants help. I can't do it because I'm so famous. But I try every day to, if you have a question or whatever, I try to help you with it. I know the answer. There's nothing in it for me, but it's my duty. It's my karma yoga. And I do that every day. I make sure that I take care of other people. The environment. Got to take care of the environment. It's another. The whole Vedic system was an environmental system. You look at the Vedic. Oh, it's beautiful. Beautiful culture. And finally, worship the Guru and the teaching. The scripture and the Guru every day. Think about that every day. That's karma yoga. That'll take care of most of it. It'll take care of all your psychological problems, basically. And what you can do with Karma Yoga, you do with Jnana Yoga. What's Jnana Yoga? Inquiring into your values in the Bhagavad Gita. Values are called the chapters on values. There's a number of chapters discussing values. There's an excellent book by Swami Dayananda called The Value of Values. You must get that book. Or alternatively, read my chapter in Essence of Enlightenment called The Value of Values.
It's a good one.
God, the value of values. You have to understand that values are extremely important, what you're valuing. You need to do a fearless moral inventory, as they say in AA, you know, the 12-step program. Fearless moral inventory. Because your values are your vasanas. Your vasanas are your values. So I need to see whether these values line up with what? Who I am. Like that fellow that I read you that lovely email yesterday. He could see that he knew who he was, but he said, my life and my values are not lining up with who I am. He didn't have a self-knowledge problem. He had a nididhyasana problem. Nididhyasana is the work you do after you know who you are. To what? Get your values in your life in line with what you know. A lot of people don't want to do that, so they say, well, I don't know who I am. That's the way they get out of it, because they don't want to change their life, or their lifestyle, whatever it is. They're attached to it. Well, it doesn't matter. Whether you know who you are or you don't know who you are, prior to knowing who you are, you need to get your values in line. And if your values are not in line when you understand who you are, which is very rare, but sometimes people with a few bad values do realize who they are, then you need to what? Purify those values so that what? They reflect your beauty, your glory. They're true to who you are. Before, all my values are based upon what? Who I wasn't. Right? Who I'm not. I thought I was this limited, inadequate little jiva, and all my values what? Were developed then when I thought that I was that person. Now I realize I'm the self, and now I need to see that my values line up with who I really am, who I truly am. So I need to cultivate these values. And what are those values? There's a whole list of them here. Great long list. Big one, the one I put at first is resolution of inner conflict. Now, why do I need to have a value for this? This is an important value, because if you get this one, then you can handle almost every other value. Resolution of inner conflict means what? I have to not avoid problems that I know that are there. I have to want to resolve them. And I should be aggressive about resolving those issues, rather than sweeping them under the carpet. You know, I've got this tamasic part of myself, and I don't want to deal with it because what? Because it's going to be sticky. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to bring up things that are unpleasant and difficult for me to deal with, and I don't want to deal with it. So I just push it aside. That's called tamas, tamasic, the reference to that. And here you should have what? You should have, whenever there's a conflict, rather than avoiding it, you should face it. This is why our Krishna says to Arjuna, he says, for a Rajasic person, conflict should not be avoided. Because it's his nature. So you need to confront these things and resolve them. We've got the tools for resolving them. Just inquiring into them should resolve them. That's the whole point here. Inquiry is a what? Using your mind to resolve the problem. Finding out where the ignorance is and resolving that ignorance, and then the problem goes away. So, self-confidence, steadiness and inquiry. These are values. If I don't have self-confidence, I've got to what? I have to put my confidence in the Scripture. If you put your confidence in the Scripture, then what? You're going to gain the greatest self-confidence. Why? Because you're going to do what's right for you. I don't have self-confidence because I'm not doing what's right for me. That's why my confidence isn't high. If you're doing the actions that are in harmony with your nature, you're going to what? You're going to be confident. Because you know you're doing the right thing for yourself. But if you don't, your self-esteem is going to go down. You're not going to be confident. When you meet these Mahatmas and people with self-confidence, it's amazing to see them. Because the reason they have confidence is because they're doing the right thing for themselves. And that means everybody else. So, in that case. But like Donald Trump, he doesn't have self-confidence. He has a self-confident act, but he's actually not self-confident because he's begging people to see it his way. He insists that you appreciate who he is. That means he doesn't appreciate who he is unless you appreciate who he is, which means his confidence is very low. Just, So, steadiness and inquiry. Okay, yeah, I'm happy to go to Ramji's seminar on the weekend, but then I've got lots of other things to do, so yeah, maybe I'll. Yeah, okay, I'm on the Vedanta bus, you bet, but so you come here and they get so much out of the satsang, and they say, well, I can't come tomorrow, why? I said, why not? Why can't you come? No, I don't care, honestly. I mean, it'd be nice if you did, but I don't care. I said, why not? Oh, my husband. I said, what about your husband? Oh, he's such a baby. I have to fix his lunch. Excuse me? You have to, doing what you want to do, which is really good for you spiritually, and probably good for him in the long run, because he wants you home fixing your lunch. He's such a baby he can't make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on his own? Well, that's not because your husband's a jerk, which he is, but that's because you're a jerk. Just tell him, man up, here's the peanut butter, here's the knife, do it yourself. Dummy, I'm going to the satsang. Oh no, my husband this, my wife this, Hey, you're on it, man. If you're on the bus, you're on the bus. Every day, steady, steady, steady. Go for it. Sorry, I'm getting excited. I gotta motivate you guys. Bunch of duds. Non-violence, yeah. I don't eat chicken or fish. I'm non-violent. Yeah, but as soon as your husband or your wife says something, right? Yeah, you're non-violent. Sure you are. You're, in thought, word, and deed. You just, not just, I'm vegan. Oh, great. Lovely. You punish your kids and who knows what you do. I'm vegan. Fearlessness. Let's stand up, man. Confront your fears. If you got one of these gratuitous fears, face it. Just do the thing that scares you. That's all. And see if you don't survive. Mm-hmm. Oh no, I couldn't do that. What, walk across the street? You can't walk across the street? No, I might get hit by a car. Well, walk across the street, preferably with the light. And see if you don't make it all the way to the other side. You just might make it. Face them, man. Face your fears. Stand up. Hey, I'm a man. I can do this. Sorry, ladies, I'm not a sexist. Okay. Well, woman up. Okay, then. Woman up. Honesty. It's good to be honest with others, but it's even if you can't, it's better to be honest with yourself. I'm a lying, cheating son of a bitch. At least say that to yourself. At least you know what you are. It's better not to lie and cheat, but at least just say I'm a lying, cheating son of a bitch, and that's what you get. Be honest with yourself, man. Stop trying to pretend that that you're honest. Look at it. Straightforwardness. Not too straightforward. My wife's got this problem. She'll actually tell you what's, don't ask her what's wrong because she'll tell you. I hope she's not going to watch this video. But I really don't care. No, seriously. Look, compassion trumps honesty. Okay? You need to be honest, but what? You need to be kind. And if, so a little white lie here and there is okay. It's fine. Spare somebody's feelings and not hurt them. It's good compassion. Non-stealing, cleanliness, purity, order. Now they're all there. You can read them all. You can study them. In the three energies book, I've more or less made little comments on each one of those, and you can read all those. We don't need to go through them.
I'm surprised.
Huh?
Surprised not to find equanimity, which is so much in Bhagavad Gita.
Well, equanimity is equanimity. Yeah, there's some you could say. You could put equanimity in there. Accommodation. Do I have accommodation? Commodiousness. All of these values are basically what produce an equanimous mind, a steady mind. How can you get a mind that's equanimous? In other words, without investigating your values, because if you have bad values, your mind's not going to be equanimous. Non-conforming values to be removed. Gratuitous fears and desires. There are certain, it's good to be prudent. There are certain things that it's okay to want, and there are certain things that you need to be careful of. But we're talking about all these gratuitous, unnecessary fears and desires we have. In these cultures, luxuries have become necessities. That's the problem. That's keeping us really tied down. There are certain things you need to be very careful about. Those are honest fears and honest desires. They're smart fears and smart desires. Those are fine. It's getting all of this gratuitous, useless stuff and letting my mind be agitated by my need for all these gratuitous, useless little things. That's what needs to be addressed. So I got to get rid of those. Unjustified anger. What does that mean? That means anger is good in certain situations.
Righteous.
Huh? Righteous anger. Yeah, absolutely. When you read these stories about, or you see somebody, injured a child or something. Well, you should get angry, and if they resist, you should punch them in the face. It's good for them. It's absolutely justified. If you give Adharma a pass here, it's adharmic to give Adharma a pass. You need to stand up to it. That's what Krishna's telling Arjuna. Arjuna's got a grudge. Arjuna's pissed off. He wants to kill Duryodhana. Duryodhana's been on his tail for a long time. And now he's got a good reason to do it, which he didn't really solicit. The circumstances has put him in this situation. He has a chance to really be angry and really take care of that he was cheated by Duryodhana. They were absolutely cheated. And he tried very much to accommodate to that, and Duryodhana wouldn't accommodate, and then I get angry over all kinds of useless things, stupid things. Why should you get angry because Donald Trump got elected? Do you know the psychological guys are making a huge amount of money right after the election? Because the liberals were so upset emotionally that he got elected. They were so angry that they didn't get, that Hillary didn't get in, that they had psychological problems and the phone was ringing off the hook on for the shrinks. That is totally useless. Totally unjustified anger. He wanted fair and square. If you know, those people got out and they have a right to govern, their guy has a right to govern just like your guy has a right to govern. That's fair, that's honest. And in a democracy, if you don't let the opposition rule, you're going to have war. You're not going to have just verbal war, you're going to have civil war. You're going to have, everybody needs to have their say here. And if you don't like what somebody that says, you know, that they're in power, well, your anger is completely unjustified. You're being unfair. And they've got to allow you, your guy, to also. So this is talking about delusion. That's an obvious one, although the problem with that is you don't know when you're deluded. Stinginess. You can see what that one is. That's a fear one, right? Stingy. You got all this stuff, not just money. We're not talking just money. You could, if you got some extra money, somebody needs it, give them that. But stingy with your time usually. Somebody comes and wants to talk to you. Say, oh yeah, I'd love to talk to you. I'm really pretty busy right now, but let me check my schedule. And then, oh yeah, I can fit you in. Let's see, May 27th at 3 to 3:35 on May 27th. That's in a couple of months. I'm happy to give you 5 minutes. You know that one? They need some help, so set your stuff aside and accommodate them a little bit. Don't be stingy. You're not so important. Everybody's you. You know, that's you asking you for some help. You'd like to get help when you want to get help. Well, why can't you accommodate the other person and give them some, whatever it is? Miserliness, arrogance. Problem is that arrogant people don't know they're arrogant. That's the problem with that one. Comparison. Now we already covered that one. Stop comparing yourself. Need to control. Oh. There's a nasty one. Krishna talks about that in the Gita. He says a beautiful verse. He said, it's the solution. It's the knowledge you need to get away from this one. He said, all beings follow their nature. What use is control? Why would you try to control somebody? Because they're going to do what they're going to do according to their nature. They have no choice but to do what their nature compels them to do. Their vasanas, their nature, their program, they're going to follow that. If they don't, then they're going to feel inauthentic, they're going to feel frustrated, and so forth and so on. And why should they act out your karma? You're not here to act out somebody else's karma. He said to do the dharma of another is worse than death. You know that? He says in there, it's worse than death. Somebody wants you to do something for them and it's not right for you, it's only right for them, you should say thank you very much, but sorry. Because I'll be going against my nature to do this. When you go against your nature, you're going to suffer like anything.
Can you give an example, please, of that?
What's that?
Of what you said just now, doing something that's against your dharma.
Oh yeah, sure. Say you somebody say you're living there and you notice that your neighbor's having an affair with somebody, and then your neighbor comes over and says, "Hey, by the way, if my wife asked you if you saw me with so and so, would you say that you didn't see anything?" You know that one? That happens all the time. So you say, oh yeah, okay, fine. But you've got a value for honesty, don't you? So you're gonna feel really bad,
Yeah.
aren't you?
Yeah.
You're gonna be totally agitated that you're lying to protect somebody else's adharma,
Yeah.
huh? Because they're doing wrong and they want you to protect their wrong actions. Happens all the time. Guilt and regret. Guilt's the most useless emotion.
It is.
Huh? It's totally useless. Huh? Look into that. If you say, "Oh, I'm so guilty," you listen to you. If you feel guilty or think you're guilty, then you better work on that one. Regret. There's no regrets. You did what you did. You didn't know what was. You didn't understand things. You made a mistake, but so what? It's not your fault. You're aware of that. You're not going to do it again, or you're going to try not to do it again, but stop regretting the mistakes you made. You're just living in the past, that's all. Living in the past doesn't mean living in the past, because nobody lives in the past. They identify with thoughts that keep them from being what they are in the present, that's all. So regret is just one of those thoughts that is incredibly debilitating. Jealousy, envy, pride, vanity, conceit, self-glorification. All these are listed. Swami Dayananda gets into some of them really nicely in the value of values. I've sort of edited and preserved a few of the examples that he uses in the Essence book.
Which book of yours was it again?
Huh?
What's the title of the book of yours again?
Essence of Enlightenment. The solution for all these problems is what? Inquiry into Ishwar. That is, understand that those don't belong to you, that those are, all of this stuff, good and bad, comes from Ishwara, and stop regretting it. Stop identifying with it. It's not your fault.
But should you not at the same time work toward getting rid of some of the vasanas?
Yeah, sure. You should, absolutely. Yeah, the whole thing is Vasanashaya. Vasanashaya theory is getting rid of the vasanas.
So effort is necessary.
Pardon?
Effort,
Effort is required, oh yeah.
sadhana.
Karma yoga, sadhana, or all these yogas, yoga is what? Is for the doer. The three yogas are for the doer. The doer needs to do sadhana. So the doer does karma yoga, bhakti yoga, and jnana yoga. These are your sadhanas. The sadhanas are not going to get you moksha. The sadhanas are going to get you in a position where you can understand these teachings. Pretension, affectation, and lying. Okay. Yeah, we haven't got time for that now, so we'll take a break. And then,
Pardon me? No guna Google. What is?
no guna Google.
What is it?
Oh, that's a good one. That means in every situation, a particular guna is required for your response. Life is stimulus and response. So a situation requires a particular response. Now you can't, there's no guna Google. So you can't Google guna to tell you, you can't Google you can't Google
Time for a break.
to get the guna. You know, what guna should I use here? What guna is an appropriate guna here? There's no Google for that. Now what that means is you need to what? Be thinking on your feet. You need to recognize the guna that's appropriate here and respond with that guna. You need to pull that out of yourself and respond in that particular way. Then you're fine. Then you've responded appropriately to the situation. You have to match your response with the guna that Ishwar is asking for at the time. Sattva, Rajas, or Tamas. You have to respond in a sattvic way, or a rajasic way, or a tamasic way in every situation, or in some combination of those three.
And just one more. Don't express. Why not express?
Don't express, don't suppress, what do I
It says
say?
don't express.
Don't suppress, sublimate. Where does it, doesn't it say?
That's
No, it
this
says-
afternoon, that's later.
Yeah,
That's this
I
afternoon, we're gonna
did
talk
not.
about that. You jumped ahead.
Oh, you're jumping ahead, I thought,
Okay.
Can you please
Stay in
repeat
the present
sadhana,
moment.
role of sadhana?
I'm not
What's
going
that?
to
Can you
hear,
please
so
repeat the
from
role of sadhana? You said
unconsciously.
sadhana gets you into something.
what the what?
Role of sadhana.
Sadhana is the practice of these yogas to what? Purify your mind. To get a qualified mind. That's what sadhana is. And that is what? And in terms of this discussion, that is manipulating or changing the relative proportion of the gunas. In other words, getting a predominantly sattvic mind for us. And what? And reducing rajas and tamas to manageable portions. Utilizing rajas and tamas creatively. Having enough tamas to sleep properly and enough rajas to motivate you. To provide the energy to what? Implement your program. If you're too tamasic, you'll say, oh, this is all a great program, but I haven't got the energy to do it. That means what? Your tamaguna is controlling your rajaguna. It's dominant, and it's not allowing your rajaguna to get behind your program. So there I got to address my tamaguna and start. And how do you get out of tamas? With rajas. It's the only way you're going to get out. You're not going to hope your way out of tamas. You're going to get up, roll up your sleeves, and start acting. And what? That's going to burn up the tamas. Rajas burns up tamas. So there's a progression through the gunas. From rajas eats up tamas, and sattva eats up rajas, and then what? Then I can jump out of the gunas altogether. I can become a trigunatita. In other words, I neutralize my binding vasanas. And that's what a gunatita is, a person who's free of the gunas.